Okay, real talk. The ROM hack Pokemon Radical Red is by far the most fun I've ever had with a Pokemon game, on par with Pokemon Clover, but for slightly different reasons. You thought Renegade Platinum was a good game? Well, it is. But this is even better. It's a truly unique Pokemon experience with a staggering amount of changes. It's crazy how so much stuff was crammed into the original Fire Red, along with a near endless amount of gameplay choices and replay value, making games like Fire Red Omega and Renegade Platinum look tame in comparison. Radical Red is one of, if not the most engrossing experience I've ever had playing Pokemon. If you want a good ROM hack to play, or you want a hard game that requires a lot of clever strategy, or if you like competitive Smogon battling especially, play this game. Hell, this game might as well be called Pokemon Smogon version, and that's a good thing. You're probably wondering what exactly makes this ROM hack so great. Well, in this video I'll unpack why this is one of the best Pokemon ROM hacks ever, if not the best. Being a ROM of the original Fire Red, the overall framework of that game is still intact, there's still no plot, and the overall layout is roughly the same. But it's the gameplay that really sets this ROM hack apart from everything else. So what does Radical Red add to the original Fire Red? Oh boy, I guess it's more like, what doesn't it add? The first and most important feature is that this game has a national dex from the start, and by the national dex I mean every Pokemon, and by that I mean every single Pokemon, from Generation 1 until Generation 8, with only a very small exception of Ubers, which I think will be added in future updates. So, while you start the game with the Kanto starters like always, you have the choice of over 800 Pokemon to play with, Jesus Christ! Boasting almost double the count of Renegade Platinum, and more than doubling what Pokemon Clover had available. Being my first time playing anything past Generation 6, this was such a crazy experience for me. It felt like a whole new world having access to the staggering amount of content from the start. The first few routes alone have anything ranging from Litleo, Wooloo, and Mankey. With the Dex Nav and the Pokedex, it's super easy to build whatever team you want. One of my absolute favourite things about this game is how you can play this game literally 10 times and have a wildly different team every single time in a completely unique experience, as there's so many different Pokemon you can catch. To accompany this, all the game mechanics have been updated to Generation 8, so new EXP shares here, critical hits got nerfed, you've got access to the Dex Nav, which is amazing. I never played with it before in any game, and the fact that a ROM hack is using it in a Gen 3 game is pretty incredible. Also, raids and Dynamaxing are available at very specific points, which is also really crazy how you can do this in a Fire Red ROM hack. These allow you to get good loot and potentially a great Pokemon with really nice IVs. Though don't worry, you can only Dynamax in these optional raid battles, as most would agree that Dynamaxing was really broken. Fairy types and all the new moves that the newer generation added are also here. Awesome, right? But wait, there's more. A lot more. Not only are all the modern updates here, the developer went out of his way to add even more updates to this game to not only change things up drastically, but also streamline the Pokemon experience far more than ever. As for quality of life changes, there are many, like how breeding is more convenient to do than ever before. Also, finding specific Pokemon is faster than ever. HMs are no longer necessary to use, along with the availability of so many infinite TMs, move tutors, Bible Pokemon, and the ability to change your abilities to the ones you want really easily. And most importantly, this game has a humongous focus on EV and IV training and optimization. While there's no swarm battles, there is a feature to turn on wild permanent double battles, and the fact that the Macho Brace and the power items all got huge buffs makes EV training so much easier to do, if you know how to do it properly. Though this only becomes really easy to do about the mid game, at which point the AI will absolutely be using full EV training to their advantage. But another really big feature is the addition of the IV Maximizer, which, for a massive price, you can completely max out a Pokemon's IV values. Yes, it's incredibly expensive, but endgame, it will be absolutely necessary. I'll go into why shortly, oh boy. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Mega Evolution is here, but no Z moves. That's also a really important part of the game. So yeah, there's a massive amount of features in this game. But, as if that wasn't enough, the developer went out and made even more changes to this game, and these were a really big deal. There are many changes made to existing moves, Pokemon and abilities, so much extra rebalancing, along with the streamlining evolution methods, and to top it off, there are even brand new abilities and mega evolutions, and man, these are some game changers. I love these changes. Many Pokemon have received alterations in some way, and while most of these changes are minor, some Pokemon have received huge buffs which really impact some. Overall, I love how almost every single Pokemon now is at least somewhat viable. This is after all supposed to be a game with competitive battling in mind. Existing abilities like Truant got buffed, so you can now use healing moves on the Truant turns, and Rivalry will no longer reduce attack. But there are also brand new abilities like Blade Master, powering up all cutting moves, and Sage Power, which is Gorilla mode for special attackers. Cool. Then there's a huge list of alterations to existing Pokemon, such as how Sandslash got plus 10 to attack in both defenses. Base Sandslash needs some love. Primeape gets a very small attack nerf, but can now get the Guerrilla Tactics ability, jeez. Girafarig is crazy, as it gets Parental Bond, which actually makes sense, along with Boom Burst and Charge Beam, which now has 100% accuracy and will always increase your special attack. Holy moly, with Boom Burst that sounds insane. Even Gen 8 Pokemon like Dracovish got altered. That thing got a very small attack nerf and a slight defense boost. That's fair, I guess. So many other Pokemon also got rebalanced. Hell, even Mega Evolutions got changed. Base Cabrop got a good HP boost, which it needed, along with some nice stat reallocation for its Mega Evolution. Less broken Megas like Glalie and Altaria got small boosts as well, while really broken ones like Salamence got a tiny nerf. But wait, did you know that there are also brand new Mega forms here? Yeah baby, and these are awesome, though admittedly a little bit underwhelming in power, though the developer did say himself that he might buff them in the future. Mega Machamp, Mega Lapras, and Mega Kingler are all Pog, especially Mega Kingler. All this new stuff made the game so much more fun to play with. Not only is it completely new to see stuff like Mega Kingler, but it also adds so much replay value and so many more options to play with, as almost everything here is at least somewhat useful, like how Furret got a buff, along with the adaptability, and moves like Extreme Speed. Oh baby! You'll definitely want to play around with these new changes. I definitely recommend looking at the changelogs online, so you can see what's been altered, as otherwise you might get a bit confused as why certain Pokemon are different than before, and you might get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of changes in content. Now that I've established all this stuff about the game, I want to talk about what really makes this game such a gem. Yeah, there's a huge amount of new content and features, along with streamlining, but that on its own doesn't make a game amazing. That is decided more by the gameplay. I've talked about previously why I thought Renegade Platinum was such a great game, because of the way the game revolves around the battles was so engaging. But oh man, this game, it blows it out of the water with its battle system, and that's saying something. This game is Pokemon's Smogon version, for a good reason. Radical Red at the end of the day revolves around its revamped battling that executes in a way that's so fun. This is because battling in this game is similar to battling on Pokemon Showdown. This game is not easy. The AI is good, and I mean really good at times, similar to that of Pokemon Clover. They have fully optimized EV trained teams very early, along with great strategies, and unlike other games, the AI here is far more intelligent. They can actually predict your moves, will switch out if they're unmatched, and are quite skilled at using their own strategies like setting up hazards, using weather, or using boosting moves to their advantage to sweep. I did a normal blind playthrough and really struggled in my blind attempt as I was so not used to this new style of battling. Early to mid game, you will be flat out outmatched if you're not prepared, and that will happen. I got my ass handed to me so many times. Also, by the way, one of the coolest things about this game is how it forces Smogon rules on you in trainer battles. I loved how in universe the gym referee explains this to you as being the official rules in the Pokemon League. Basically like Pokemon Showdown OU, there are rules in battle. In Radical Red, set mode is now mandatory. The bag cannot be used during battle. You can't steal trainer items, which fair enough I guess. Also, get this, sleep clause is active and baton pass is now banned. Bro, this is a really cool nod to Smogon. But about the difficulty, this game has a slightly similar structure to Renegade Platinum and Pokemon Clover, where the normal trainers would be pretty easy and very manageable, but the boss battles would be really tough, and they'll go from 0 to 100 real quick. After Brock, things escalate super fast, as they already start using EV training and can easily outmatch you. Some minor spoilers about gym leader teams, ignore this for a few seconds if you want to go in blind, but Misty leads off with a Protein Frogadier with EV training and insane coverage like Ice Punch, and she's still one of the easier bosses of the game, if you can say that. Expect to face EV trained Mega Evolutions like Kangaskhan, you know, the really broken Mega Evolution. I know you might be saying, well, I'll just overlevel them, lel, so much for a challenge. No, this game has level caps just like in Pokemon Clover, so tough, you can't even overlevel. But on top of all of this, there are many extra boss battles added into this game that aren't Giovanni or your rival or gym leaders. Mostly Brendan and May are new rivals and they're no pushovers, as well as brand new Team Rocket bosses. Oh, did I mention this game has a lot of competitive double battling, with things like Trick Room abuse and weather? Yup, you better be ready for that. This game is not for the faint of heart. You need to know what you're doing to win. It's definitely doable, but a level of skill is absolutely necessary. And oh man, I forgot to mention the Elite Four on Champion, which I won't spoil, but let me say, is by far the most absurd sequence of boss battles I've ever had. You thought Mega Kangaskhan was scary? Just wait till you see what they're packing. Yeah, at the end game especially, you cannot win by simply throwing some decent Pokemon on your team to make a okay-ish team. No, that won't pass. The power levels of Elite Four are simply too high and their strategies are so good. You need to have a well-designed team and have a coherent strategy, of which you do have many options admittedly. Weather teams, hyper offense, stall, or a balanced team that's very well designed. You could simply save scum and reset over and over again before each member and hope you get super lucky, but beating the whole Pokemon League legit requires you to really know what you're doing. Absolutely. Hell, the AI is good enough to make it so setting up with moves like Dragon Dance is very hard to pull off with any kind of consistency. There's very few weak points to exploit here, you have to be clever. I'll never forget my blind battle against the champion. It was so insane, but in a good way. Oh, and I even forgot to mention that Elite Four, each member has 2 separate teams which you choose at random, making it extra hard to be truly prepared for them. Despite this utter insanity, I feel like, while the game is incredibly challenging, especially if you're blind, it's by no means too unfair. If anything, most of it is definitely manageable, if you know what you're doing. While the AI does outmatch you, you always have ways to get around each boss battle, due to the huge amount of options available. You get access to the EV training items after the 6th gym badge, but you can still definitely EV train beforehand, which gives you a huge relative advantage, albeit it'll take some time to do, especially now the Macho Brace got a buff. The fact that maximising your IV values is also not too hard to do at the end of the game, gives you a lot of options to get some viable Pokemon to use. It definitely helps to have knowledge of competitive battling. Struggling due to a certain physical attacker? Consider adding a wall like Corviknight, that's what I did. Struggling against Sabrina? Bring Mons like maybe Focus Sash Heracross to have a good advantage against her. The fact that farming for XP due to Wild Aldinos is so easy gives you so much flexibility in team building, as it's really easy to just get a new Pokemon and grind it up, so you can counter a new boss battle that you might be struggling with. At Sabrina's gym, I had around 12 fully trained Pokemon in my PC, ready to battle at the level cap, which I could rotate in and out of my team at any point to suit their needs. The game does reward you for good team building, and being able to out-strategize the AI is really rewarding. Going from a random team of slapped together mons that I really like Slacking and Venusaur and Lapras, to a coherent Sun team dedicated around abusing weather at the end of the game, then having a super tense battle against Elite Four was probably the most fun I've ever had in Pokemon, especially as those battles will get dicey. The battles feel like you're playing against actual players. Battling them is like having a big back and forth tug of war for advantage in the battle. I guess it's almost like a puzzle. You've got dilemmas and options. You can get swept at any point if you're not careful, and you're under pressure and you need to weigh up the possibility of your moves. This combined with the sheer amount of versatility and options was what truly set this game apart from any other ROM hack. The game is very hard, definitely, but you also have a massive amount of strategies available, along with the quality of life changes. I beat the game once, but I already want to jump back in again. You can play a Sun team, a Hail team which got buffed, or a Trick Room team. So many new ways to play, so many combinations of Pokemon. The fun is endless. Now, one big point that I want to make is about Nuzlocking, and the general response to this game got from the fans. You probably know that I like Nuzlocking games, but Radical Red is one big exception. Very similar to Pokemon Clover, not only is Nuzlocking this game impossibly hard, but it's also counterintuitive to how the game is designed, in just a less fun way to play the game. What I did was I started this game trying to Nuzlocke it, knowing that I would most likely lose. Then as soon as I got absolutely destroyed in Mount Moon, and realising just how silly Nuzlocking is because it's just so futile, I just carried on with a normal playthrough. Honestly, I should have just done that from the start, especially as this was my first time seeing all these new generation features and being able to encounter Pokemon like Wooloo. I want to enjoy the new stuff, and not be forced to use Pidgey and Mankey for the millionth time because I got unlucky and they just happened to be my first route encounters. This game is supposed to resemble competitive battling against a competent player, where sacking Pokemon is usually mandatory and sometimes you will lose, that's just how it is, especially if you're blind. Let's just say that I've lost a lot of times. So because of that, it's not really a good game to Nuzlocke, as it's kind of pointless. You'll just be hitting your head against a brick wall at that point. But also, it's not like in Renegade Platinum where at the very least the AI is predictable and usually never switches out, allowing you to really abuse the bad AI. This will not work against Radical Red's AI. No, they're too smart for that. Just play the game normally, experiment with lots of new teams and builds, and don't be afraid of losing. The best thing about this difficulty is that even though it's very high, it's classed more as organic difficulty rather than artificial difficulty. Much of the challenge comes from needing strategy and preparation, like actual competitive battling, especially in the OU tier, and not from excessive grinding or the AI having unfair advantages like Emerald Kaizo. Well, there's a few exceptions of that, but not many. I have noticed that a lot of people have expressed anger or frustration towards this game because apparently it's too hard. I honestly have no idea what these people are on about. Many of them are just salty about how set mode is forced and how you cannot use items from your bag during battle. God forbid you the player have to play under the same rules as your opponent in a game about competitive battling. Like, imagine if you played your mate in Pokemon Showdown and you were able to use revives during battle to cheese your opponent but they couldn't, or you could use shift mode but they had to use set mode. That wouldn't be fair at all, wouldn't it? If you're struggling too much to beat this game to the point where you're hating on it, then that's a you problem. Go play Generation 2 Gold and Silver and enjoy destroying the first gym leader without any challenge. Well, he has 2 Pokemon which includes a level 7 Pidgey, while your starter will probably be like level 14 with way better stats and moves. Very riveting gameplay, I guess. Radical Red is tough, but every loss is a learning experience. Maybe you could have optimized your strategy better. While the game does give you the means to beat each boss fight, it by no means handholds you. It's up to you to figure out how to use the available Pokemon to their best potential and to use your brain properly, like Dark Souls. In conclusion, this game is absolutely fantastic, genius in design and without a doubt tied for Pokemon Clover for the best ROM hack I've ever played. They're both incredible but for different reasons, I guess. The amount of work and features here are staggering. But wait, there's even more! The developer hasn't even finished this game yet. What? Well, the most recent version is ready, the main game is fully complete, but the post game, including a brand new Elite Four rematch, is still in progress, so there will be even more challenges and content to come out in the future. Also, the developer is constantly working on new balance updates and patches, which gives even more reasons to come back. One example was in the most recent patch, where Mega Lapras got a much needed buff by giving it the liquid voice ability, so it can use stuff like Stab Boom Burst, as Lapras was pretty weak before the patch. But overall, I absolutely recommend this game to everyone. If you want content, the need for strategy, difficulty and replay value, then you won't find any better game than Pokemon Radical Red. Hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for my next video, which will be me showcasing my playthrough of this game, explaining the Sun team that I built, how extremely challenging the Elite Four is, my Sun strategy, how to build it yourself, and my reasoning for it, along with how I did against a Pokemon League. I will see you all next time. This is Ding Dong, signing out.